Forced marriage became a criminal offence for the first time last year. Luton is home to one of the biggest Bangladeshi communities in the country. The practice of forced marriage is a reality for some women in the town. Well, Paul Scoynes has been investigating how one woman from Luton has taken on the challenge of changing the culture.
I was a little girl who needed her mum and dad. I wanted my dad to come and save me. What little girl in trouble doesn't want her dad to save her?
Luton has one of the largest Bangladeshi communities in the country. Lots of couples marry here, and for most, it's a happy day.
But for some, the experience of getting married is entirely different, forced by their families into marrying men they barely know in Bangladesh.
As a teenager, Aklima was one of these girls sent to Bangladesh and forced into marriage. She believes her father was pressurized by his culture. He was not there for the wedding night. She says she was drugged and forced to sleep with her new husband.
It was a culture that they've been brought up with. I know my dad was involved with the marriage whole thing, but I know he was pressurized into it. But what they were abusing that night, how they were abusing my husband's friends, he's got other associates and him, the drugs, and obviously I didn't want to sleep with him. What they did to me. Nobody knows that.
She returned to Luton with her new husband, and the abuse continued.
I was in a cage, basically. I was literally in a cage. And I was suicidal because I've never expected a life like that.
It was a slave-like existence, and she was beaten up because she wanted to study. I've come to hear her story and find out if new laws will help women like her.
These are my photographs, as you can see. I nearly lost my eye there. I couldn't open my eye for, I think, literally a whole month. And then, even to this day, my left eye is smaller than my right. And this is basically, you know, his intention was to make sure I was so ugly that nobody even looked at me. For what? For educating myself, to going to college?
After years of abuse, she finally got a restraining order against her husband.
My solicitor, when I was taking the restraining order, my solicitor asked me to take those pictures at the time. These were submitted to the police, and these are the reason the restraining order was taken out.
At the time, she says she got little help from the police.
From my own experience, I went through hell trying to get their help, but eventually I had to stand up on my 2 feet, and this is where I got most of my experience.
But Aklima's life today is a very different one. It took her 10 years to find the courage to leave and divorce her husband, and despite her ordeal, she carried on with her education. She now helps other vulnerable women as a lawyer.
Women you're looking at, they've been in isolation. They don't even know left, right, or centre. All they've been, all they have been doing is cooking and cleaning, let alone going out and see friends. They're not even allowed to go and do the basic, necessities. For example, seeing the doctor or the nurse, or even go to see their family members. So coming out and sort of trying to escape from that is going to be very, very difficult.
Forced marriages are not the same as arranged marriages where both parties agree. The women Aklima sees are forced into a marriage they don't want and suffer the abuse that often goes with it.
Thanks for coming. What I wanted to know was, I know a bit about the marriage and the...
Today, Aklima is meeting a woman who has come to her for help. This client and her interpreter do not wish to be identified.
Was it a love marriage?
তোমার বিয়ে love marriage আসেনি
না love marriage আমার আব্বা আম্মা ঠিক করছে ঠিক করার পরে বাদে এদের আদিন দেখছি অবশেষ আমি আর ধরে দেখছি না
It wasn't a love marriage. She got to meet the groom only once, about 2 weeks before the wedding, and that was after that I went ahead. Yeah.
So she didn't even communicate or talk to him before the marriage?
No, these type of facts when I had that.
Okay. Tell me a bit about your marriage life?
A lot of domestic violence was involved, and that used to include both her husband, her mother-in-law, and the sister-in-law that was present at home. And domestic violence in terms of abusing her physically, verbally abusing her, starving her.
Are you worried about your own safety?
She is fearful of her life. She knows for a fact that upon return he is going to attack her. He's done it plenty of times before. And for her, it's matter is not enough that she's gone through so much that she has to repeatedly go through this again.
Bedfordshire Police says it's working with the community to end the practice of forced marriage. I'm here today at the headquarters to talk to the Chief Constable. Hello. I'm here to see the Chief Constable. There are thousands of girls who are put in this potentially harmful situation by their families, but it was only last year that forced marriage became a criminal offence for the first time.
Aklima's experience of the police was a negative one, but the Chief Constable believes things are finally changing.
Do you think it's helped?
I think that there's been problems in society and probably in police forces about understanding these issues. I think awareness has got much better. We've certainly got a forced marriage unit. You know, it's only a small unit, but is really, really linked in with the partners in Luton. People do understand it more now. I think the fact it's now a criminal offence has been really helpful in terms of that understanding. But it's not just about police, it's about communities as well.
But no one has yet been charged and convicted of the crime of forced marriage in this country. And Aklima feels that police have a long way to go in her town enforcing it.
I think they're just tiptoeing on cultural issues. It's a big issue, but I think they're more concerned about upsetting the men than to provide the protection for us.
It's early days for this law. Bedfordshire Police has been using existing protection orders to help vulnerable people.
This is probably more difficult than a lot of crimes because it does include family members. I know that, you know, there's been some people that say, you know, that we tiptoe around cultural sensitivities, and what I would say to that is, if it's a crime, we treat it as a crime. And we're really keen to help and support. And if someone ever felt they weren't, I would want them to contact me personally, because I would step in and intervene if a victim wasn't being looked after by us.
Aklima believes that real change will only happen by tackling her culture, and for that reason she has taken her fight to Bangladesh, and by her side stands her father, promoting women's rights.
He's doing everything. He's even set up a school in my name in Bangladesh to empower girls in a village. Okay, he's even made me head of the committee in the village. So I'm the chairperson, and what he's saying is, look, look what my daughter turned out to be. Therefore, if my daughter can do it, you can do it. I mean, he's an old-fashioned guy, so he doesn't know how to say sorry, but he is doing everything. Everything what I say, he does. And this is obviously his way of saying, I'm sorry.
Even girls playing and being seen playing football is an important milestone. And for Aklima and her father, it's their way of coming together.